Hello Stampers, this is Melissa Johnson, a Close to My Heart maker, and you are Stampin' with MJ. Today I am going to show you how to do this beautiful blended background sunset. So these are the colors of oxide inks that I've used. I have mustard seed, fossilized amber, abandoned coral, wilted violet, seedless preserves, salty ocean, and chipped sapphire. So let's get started. Just going to move these out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I have a piece of cardstock that is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I have this mask that just has the rectangular opening. So I've covered that so I have a nice even border. And then I'm going to take a piece of Post-it tape and I'm going to choose where my horizon line is. So what's above will be the sky, what's below will be the ocean. All right, so then I'm going to take my first color, which is mustard seed, and my blending tool. And I'm using the side of it because I don't want to come in totally circular on it. I'm just using the side and I'm creating a line right on that horizon line. And we're just going to keep adding color till we get the intensity that we would like. All right, so there's that one. It doesn't take a whole lot of the mustard seed. Then I'm moving on to fossilized amber. Again, I'm just using the same one because it's yellow. I just turned it. But I'm coming in, again, using the side. Just kind of going across, and you don't want like a straight line. You can have one side going up a little higher than the other. And then we can go back and blend a little bit with that other yellow. Okay. Next up is abandoned coral. Again, doing the same thing. I'm just using the edge. I mean, this one you can see it was a brand new foam pad when I started. And I've only used that edge. Whoops. And again, I'm coming in and coming across and just layering my colors. And then I'm going to go back over it with the yellow just to get a nice blend of those two colors together. I'm going to add a little bit more of the abandoned coral. Okay. And when you go back and forth like that, you get a nice blend once it's dry. All right, our next color is going to be wilted violet. So that's our brighter purple. We'll have that right next to the abandoned coral. It really doesn't take a lot of that one. That's a pretty strong color. And then again, I'm going to go over it with the abandoned coral to kind of blend those two colors in. And then I'm going to move on to seedless preserves. And again, just going back and forth until you get the tones that you want. And I don't know if you could see, but I'm rotating my tool so that I don't have the two colors in the same spot. I don't see any reason to dirty a different sponge for the same color family, so that's why I do it that way. All right, so then I think we're done with wilted violet. I'm going to hold on to the seedless preserves in case I need to do a little more color blending there. All right, we're done with abandoned coral. So now I'm moving on to salty ocean. Now this one, I'm going to fill in the rest of this space with the salty ocean. overlapping the purples. Okay. And then we're going to come in with chipped sapphire. I'm going to go over this just a little bit with my purple. See how that kind of smooths that line out? That's all I'm trying to do when I go over those two. I don't want to have that heavy line. Okay, so now with chipped sapphire, I'm going to kind of come in from the sides. I'm not going to cover the whole area of blue, just mainly around the edges. So we have a little bit of that lighter sky color coming in. Okay, so that's our whole sky. Now, we are going to add a little bit of a sun with the fossilized amber. Just down here at the horizon line, I'm going to do kind of a circular motion to make that a little stronger so that you can see that is just a tiny bit darker. So then that takes care of all of our blending for the sky. Now the next step is to create the clouds, which I have here. And all I did for that is I took a little dish of water and a paintbrush, and I just came in and kind of did some scribbles. And I made sure that I had some thicker than others. Had some that were just kind of wispy lines, and then blot it with a paper towel. And do you see how that made that cloud lighter? So we're going to repeat that in different areas. And as you can see, no two clouds will turn out the same. It all depends on how much water you put on, how long you let it sit. I do try to get the edges a little bit more thinned out, so it kind of looks like it's just floating across the sky. And then I think we'll do one more up here. Again, just blotting that. And I like that this makes it nice and subtle. Okay. Now the yellow, it is a little harder to see, but as it dries, it'll show up a little bit more. But again, you just want it subtle. So that takes care of our entire sky. We're going to let that dry for a minute, and then we'll add some gel pen under the clouds. So now I'm going to peel back this tape, which I have a hard time getting off, so I'm going to use my piercing tool. And then I'm just flipping actually I'm using the same piece of tape, but I'm putting it on here so that you can see, this is where I had that sun that I put on that was setting. And I'm overlapping my horizon line just a little bit. So you're just going to see a tiny bit of that yellow underneath. And get your edges down nice and strong. Now this time, we're going to come in with just a tiny bit of the yellow right under where that sun was going to be. So right here. Then we're going to add a little fossilized amber. And I'm really doing a thin line of it just under that sun. It's not even going across the whole piece, just under the sun. It's not going to take a whole lot. Okay. Next, we're going to take Salty Ocean. So when you're doing the water, you want to make sure you have just a little piece that's still white when you're done. So the way I'm doing that is I'm going to come in from the sides. I am overlapping that abandoned coral, sorry. And then I'm going to come in from the other side, and I'm leaving that little white path there. Okay. So that's the blue. Now we're going to go back to the purples. And as you layer them, I mean, they get nice and dark. So I'm going to go back to Wilted Violet. And I'm just going to go right over top of that blue I just laid down. And I'm coming in just a tiny bit further each time. You don't need a whole ton of white showing, but you do need some. Gives you kind of that moonlit water look. Okay. All right, and now I'm going to go with the darker purple, which is those seedless preserves. Ooh, that could have been a disaster. Again, coming in from the side. Now this one I want to kind of come under that fossilized amber a little bit. Okay. And then we're going to come from the other side. And same thing, I'm just barely leaving a white area there. Okay, and then our last color is going to be Chipped Sapphire. Excuse my arm. And this will be the last color for blending. And it just kind of darkens that water up a little bit. I'm going to go just under here too, so that that's not quite so purple. Okay. All right, and I kind of feel like I need to go back and add a little more of the abandoned coral. I don't know why I cannot get that name straight. It kind of disappeared on me. So we'll just add a tiny bit more. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but when it dries and when it's finished, it'll really show up nicely. Okay, I'm just going to go over that a little bit more like that. Now, when I take this tape off, make sure you peel your tape very gently. This is Post-it tape that I just ordered on Amazon. Highly recommend it. I haven't had it tear my paper, so that's always a bonus. Okay, so my sun is not looking so circular anymore. So I'm going to go back in with more of the fossilized amber. I'm just going to do that circle once more. But now that I did it as a whole thing, it's really looking more like a sun. I hope you can see that. Okay, so now we're done with the blending. Let's move on to the gel pen. And this will be our last step here. And then you can stamp whatever you want. The original card I did a silhouette of palm trees on the one side. So right at the horizon line, I'm coming in here and I'm doing just a little bit in that sun, right above the horizon line, kind of a half moon. Then I'm going to go under the clouds just to kind of define them a little bit. And I'm not following my squiggle marks exactly because you're doing the white and the white. It doesn't really matter. Now, when you're doing the waves, the little white caps, you want them focused more in the center. So heavier in the center, And I'm doing it right over that sun reflection too. But lots of lines. You know, and they can come out to the side a little bit, but you don't need a ton out here. Just enough to give that illusion. And I do go all the way to the bottom. Okay. So I feel like this is a little too white. So I'm going to go back with the Salty Ocean. I'm just using what's already on there. And I'm just barely touching it. So I still have my white reflection on the water, but it's not so pronounced. All right, so then let's peel back and see what we got. And there you go. That's how I did the ink blending for the beach card that I did, the retirement card. Hope you enjoyed this and that you got something out of it. Have a great night. Goodbye.